Welcome back to another episode of the A Sports Podcast. My name's Art, here with my brother Alex.
What's going on, guys? What's going on?
Alex, huge Saturday night of fights. We sat in front of the TV for probably, 6-7 hours watching both boxing and UFC. If you guys haven't already, go check out our previews. If you guys watched the fights already, then the previews are kind of too late to watch that, but still go check them out. And if you guys are enjoying the content, please consider subscribing, drop a like, leave a comment, all that good stuff helps out the podcast. So this podcast is going to be on UFC 258. If you're looking for boxing, it'll be on one of the next podcasts. We'll probably put the little video card at the end of this video. So if you guys want to watch it till the end, and then the little video card will show up with the boxing podcast, boxing recap. So UFC 258, Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Durinho Burns. And this was a hell of a fight.
Yeah, it was a good fight.
Second round stoppage for Kamaru Usman. Or third round. No.
Third round.
Third round stoppage for Kamaru Usman. Retaining his welterweight title. Talk to me about the fight, Alex. I mean, it was a great fight. What'd you see from Usman and from Burns that caught your attention?
Now, you know what? It was a good fight. It seemed like Gilbert Burns was, he was looking to apply the pressure early. He dropped Usman in the first round, pretty much as soon as the fight started.
Had him hurt for most of that round.
Yeah, but you know what? That's just what separates the greats. You know, you're able to take a good punch and you're able to recover, come back and win the fight.
You know, on commentary, they were talking about that little moment after Usman got hurt where Burns fell. And it seemed like Usman didn't want him to get up because Usman was recovering.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that I probably more than a minute, almost 2 minutes on the ground for Burns, not doing much. Usman was able to recover and really get some nice leg kicks in. We saw towards the end that jab is really hurt Gilbert Burns, but I think his legs were gone. What did you think?
I don't think his legs were gone. I think he just gassed himself out, in that first round. After the first round, he just really had nothing left. And not just that, but it seemed Burns was making too many mistakes. You can't, he was getting clipped with that jab a million times and he had no answer for it. Not just that, but in the last round, before he got stopped, he got dropped with a straight right hand. I mean, he was looking for a leg kick with his hands. His hands were up, but he wasn't even looking at the right hand. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So, it was mistakes. I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know if he got too confident, thinking that he was the only one that had power, but he had to learn the hard way.
Yeah, I think Usman surprised him. Usman surprised him two ways. One, he survived the early onslaught because how many times have we seen Burns knock guys out right away?
Yeah.
Not get up after a big punch like that. Usman was able to get back up, regain his composure, and really start hitting Burns. And Burns just looked a little baffled, like, oh, shoot, like, now what do I do, Mm-hmm. I thought it was going to be a wrestling, on the ground type of fight. And Usman decided to stand up with Burns, for the majority of the fight. Did you think Usman was going to do that? And were you surprised to see that Usman was able to stop him, standing up?
I can't say that I thought that was going to happen, but, he trains with Trevor Whitman now. So, I'm sure they worked a lot on his stand-up. And, I'm pretty sure he knows that Gilbert Burns has a really good ground game. He's not like the rest of the guys that he fought. In that fight against Colby Covington, they both are really good wrestlers. So he chose to stand. He thought that's where he had the better advantage because of the power. So, you know what? I thought it was a good move by Usman to do, choose to stand with Gilbert Burns. I mean, he exploited a lot of flaws that Gilbert Burns had. It seemed like Gilbert Burns, no answer for the jab. I mean, it looked like
no answer at all.
Listen, this is something that, power is a gift and a curse. Mm-hmm. You know what? When you have guys that hit hard and they can drop guys, sometimes they forget to focus on combinations, focus on moving your head, focus on range. you're not gonna be able to knock everybody out. Sometimes, you know what? Gilbert Burns had to learn the hard way, unfortunately.
Fundamentals should be taught. I know this is MMA, and we come from a boxing background, but a jab is a fundamental punch, and you have to be able to slip the jab as well as give a good jab.
Yeah.
This fight was really tense at the beginning. Like, you could tell Usman, this was kind of a different Usman. Like, Usman oozes with confidence.
Yeah.
But this time it was more of like an intimidating Usman. Did you think that was going to work against him? Because I had a feeling like, oh, shoot, I think Usman is a little too in his head, a little trying too hard to be intimidating. And I thought it would backfire.
No, you know what? I think Usman really felt, he had to leave his old team, and he felt that it was wise actually, he said that he wanted to leave before even this fight, saying that, I guess when he trained with his other team, just he was putting too much wear and tear on his body. Like, they didn't know when to pull him back. And I think that's why he wanted a change in camp, a different voice. And now he feels that it's better for him because he doesn't have to kill himself in the gym. So, I mean, I got to just tip my hat off to Usman. I mean, I did pick Gilbert Burns to win the fight. I thought he was going to be able to, but you know what? Usman showed he's a real deal, and he's the top guy right now.
Yeah, definitely. Usman called out after the fight. He called out, first after the fight, they embraced and had some words.
Yeah.
I'm sure no hard feelings. It's business. They had to do what they had to do. After the fight, Usman called out Jorge Masvidal for a rematch because Masvidal, quote unquote, came in with a built-in excuse in their first fight. Do you think that's next for Usman?
Who knows? I mean, I'm not too sure. I mean, it seemed like on paper, like if you're talking about money, who's gonna draw the bigger crowd? I feel Masvidal is probably the big money fight in that division right now. So I wouldn't count that out.
Okay.
So I mean, hopefully that is the next fight. You know what? This sucked. It was I'm sure Usman felt for Gilbert Burns because this might be his last, maybe his last chance at a title, because we all know the politics of things. When he fought at 155, Gilbert Burns, he lost to Dan Hooker, and and he was really distraught about that loss. Didn't really know what was going to happen. He moves up a weight class, regroups himself, starts blowing through the 170-pound division, gets a title shot. For him to lose his title shot after his 6-fight win streak, with Usman being, as good as he is and being the champ for so long, it's hard to see that the UFC gives Burns another shot at Usman right now. I mean, he's going to have to show a lot of things, and he's going to have, and it could be up to Usman too. Does he really want to give Burns another shot, or is he on to bigger and better things? I mean, it's just kind of how the game goes sometimes.
That's the one thing with the UFC that not that bothers me, because it's not a problem, but when it comes to matchmaking, for example, Usman just beat Burns. Mm-hmm. When's the next time Burns can get a title shot? He could fight, Wonder Boy. He can fight Leon Edwards. He can fight Chimaev, who we'll talk about right now a little bit. And he could beat them all, but then when it's time, like, okay, well, there's nobody left. Let's give him a title shot. Well, Usman already beat him, so it's a little iffy when it comes to giving guys rematches in title fights.
Yeah.
Speaking of real quick, we got some news. We talked about it a little bit on our boxing preview podcast, but wanted to bring it up on this UFC podcast. How do you pronounce his name? Chimaev?
Oh, Khamzat Chimaev.
Khamzat Chimaev. Had to pull out of his fight with Leon Edwards. That was a main event, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
March 13th.
I don't know the exact date, but he had to pull out.
Yeah, he had to pull out because of complications post-COVID. So he doesn't have COVID, but apparently his body has not caught up. One, that's scary for Chimaev. We hope that he recovers.
Yeah, hopefully.
Great fighter. Rising in the 170-pound division.
He really, came on.
Yes.
He was a guy that hadn't really been talked about. I mean, you had heard of him from, he's whacking guys in one shot and knocking them out.
Yep.
So, but just the name, where he's from, you guys don't really talk about him. But now he's making it to the big stage where he's able to get a fight with a guy like Leon Edwards. So it sucks for him having to pull out, man. But hopefully he recovers and everything's good.
And now, speaking of Leon Edwards, what does Leon Edwards do now? Because he hasn't fought in a long time.
Yeah.
I don't remember his last fight.
He had trouble coming.
Off the top of my head.
He had trouble leaving. What is he from? England?
The UK, yeah.
Yeah, the UK because of COVID. Mm-hmm. He wasn't able to leave. He was supposed to fight Tyron Woodley. I don't know if that was the time where Gilbert Burns fought Woodley. I think so. And Leon Edwards was supposed to fight him. He couldn't leave England because of the COVID. And now he's calling out Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz is saying, well, who the hell is this guy? Yeah. Nobody knows this guy. So, honestly, and what really sucks is that Nate Diaz has the pull, in that fight. I mean, you ask a casual fan who Nate Diaz is, and you ask Leon Edwards, people are going to be like, who the fuck is this guy? So unfortunately I don't think he'll probably get that fight. But, I mean, it just might be who do you put him in there with? Colby Covington maybe? Yeah. Hopefully they can make that fight. I think that's a really good fight. They've been jawing at each other. Colby Covington's a guy that, he don't like anybody apparently. He goes after anybody. So, hopefully they can make that fight.
Was Leon Edwards the one that Masvidal punched?
Yes, backstage.
That 2-piece in a soda or whatever you call
it. Yeah, hey, maybe Masvidal and Leon Edwards. Yeah. They have a score to settle, so hopefully they can get in there. But hopefully they can get Leon Edwards a fight because, he's already been out for a long time. If he has to come back and fight Chimaev,
that's a tough fight.
In his first fight, shoot, he can risk getting knocked out, man, because Chimaev can fight.
Yep. So that 170-pound division is up in the air behind Usman. Usman, I think, is a champion for a long time. I would pick him over anybody he comes up against right now at 170. Yeah. Hard for me to think any of these 170-pounders take the belt from him. But as far as behind him and who's next, it's a toss-up. Any of these guys can get a big win and throw their name in the hat to get a title shot. Yeah.
I mean, and hopefully Burns won't get discouraged and he's able to just keep fighting. You know what I mean? Just keep going. Whoever they put in front of you, train like you're going to get a title shot one day. You know what I mean? Don't get discouraged. And a lot of guys, after they take a loss like this, they fall off the face of the earth. Mm-hmm. You know what? It's not the end of the world. Work on the stand-up, work on things that you can improve on and, let the cards fall where they may. Not saying it's a guaranteed shot, but if I was Gilbert Burns, that's what I would do.
Well, I mean, it's logic. If you continue winning, eventually you're going to get a title shot.
Yeah. And it's not going to be easy either. You're going to have to go through the ringer, man. You're going to have to, but prove it the same way that you got a title shot after getting knocked out and not getting knocked out, losing to Dan Hooker. Yeah. You regrouped yourself, got yourself in a 6-fight win streak, blowing through the division. You got a title shot. Keep doing that.
Mm-hmm. Well, at least for him, there's a lot of names that he hasn't fought yet. So I think he could get some good fights, competitive fights inside the top 5. And I think with two more wins, I mean, it's hard to argue that he would not be up for a title shot again. Yeah. One thing you did tell me about Burns before the fight, 34 years old.
Right doesn't have a lot of time.
Right now with COVID and how often, or how little these guys are fighting, 2 fights could be 2 years from now. He's 36 by then. And, who knows? So hopefully it happens quickly, but, he's running out of time. Yeah. But still, great effort by Burns. But just Usman showed that he's still the top dog at 170. Moving on to the undercard, the co-main event was Maycee Barber against Alexa Grasso. Grasso ended up winning the decision. She looked pretty good.
Yeah, she did.
And beating Maycee Barber.
And she said it in her post-fight interview that she felt just different going up to 125. She was fighting at strawweight 115. She didn't have to beat her body up. She felt like she was just draining herself.
Yep.
And at 125, she looked way better.
She did. She looked comfortable. Maycee Barber, and this is not a knock on Maycee Barber or, her team or whatever, but she just looked uncomfortable in the octagon.
Oh, yeah.
Is it just me or did you see that too?
No, in the last round, what stood out to me was that Maycee Barber was throwing 1, 2, 3 punch combinations, literally from halfway across the octagon. Alexa Grasso's over there. I mean, where are you throwing at? You know what I mean? So it just, to me, that was a little bit of a sign of, just hesitant. She wasn't comfortable in there, and it's understandable. You know what I mean? This is a sport where it hurts to get punched in the face.
Of course.
You know what I mean? So, where did Maycee Barber come from? A wrestling background?
I believe so.
Yeah. So, I mean, unfortunately, she got a loss, and I mean, hopefully she can just keep going and train, see where she can go. But, I really thought that they put her in here, to get a win over Alexa Grasso, and it just didn't happen.
They put her in a good position, but
no,
you got to take advantage of those.
Listen, Alexa Grasso looked good.
Grasso.
She didn't get the credit.
Grasso's a good fighter. It's just, Maycee Barber being the natural 125 pounder, coming off her injury, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, torn ACL.
Yeah. You would think, okay, she's ready to make a run, but I think that torn ACL might have even set her back even more than what we thought.
Yeah.
Especially now with a loss to Grasso. Also on the undercard, Kelvin Gastelum beat Ian Heinisch. Pretty much just outclassed him, outgrappled him, beat him on the stand-up. Just was able to beat him all around. Any thoughts on Gastelum?
Nah, you know what? I thought he looked really good. He was able to mix it up. Looked good on in the stand-up game, and he did a good job of countering. Ian, what's his last name?
Ian Heinisch.
He was able to counter him, take him down. And you know what? In that third round, I thought it was Ian Heinisch's round, the last round.
Yeah,
I think it was his round. But you know what? Kelvin Gastelum got off to a good start first round, won the second round, and you know what? Was able to pull that fight out, and he looked good.
His performance was good.
Yeah,
but let's be real, he looked a little soft.
Yeah,
body wise.
You know what? It's a lot of people are saying that Kelvin Gastelum can fight at 170. We don't know. We don't know. Kelvin Gastelum's the only guy that can answer that. Does he feel better at middleweight, or can he just not lose the weight, or he just don't want to lose the weight? I mean, it takes a lot of discipline.
Yeah,
so
it does.
We don't know, So, but Kelvin Gastelum's gonna need to figure that out. If he's fighting at middleweight because, he's just not disciplined enough to make 170, that's not going to work out for him.
No, it's not.
So, hopefully he can figure it out because he's skilled, and a lot of people were saying that he's a skilled guy. He just needs the discipline to be able to move up or move, to that next level. Yeah.
I mean, like the commentator said, he's a world-class fighter.
Yeah.
He can hang with the top 10s. This was the type of fight where okay, either you're going to win or you're just done, because Heinisch was, I think, number 15.
Yeah.
So, you're fighting against the last ranked guy in the rankings. So
I thought Heinisch was 11. No,
I thought 15, I think.
Oh, okay. I thought it was 11.
So,
you know what? And Kelvin Gastelum gave Izzy a run for his money. So,
Dude,
you don't just give Izzy a run for his money. Look at Paulo Costa just got knocked out. He knocked out Robert Whittaker. These are two guys at the top of the middleweight division that not just anybody stops these guys.
Nope. Yeah, so, I mean, I'm excited to see what Gastelum could do, but I don't know. I feel like he's still a ways. Also on the undercard, Muhammad. How do you say his first name? Bilal? Is it Bilal?
I don't know how to pronounce his last name. It's Bilal, something like that.
Bilal Muhammad beat Diego Lima. Pretty good. Put a pretty good beating on him. And then big upset, Anthony Hernandez beat Vieira, I believe his last name was. What you said he was like a plus 300?
Yeah, he was like a plus 300
underdog. Vieira had him he was in mount, like within the first minute. And then I don't know if he tired out or what, but Hernandez just able to land some good punches and get him hurt.
It seemed like it just flip-flopped for Anthony Hernandez. You know what I mean? It seemed like the other guy, what's his name? Vieira?
Vieira, yeah.
Yeah, Vieira this dude is yoked, freaking cut. But sometimes, now I'm not saying all the time, but most of the time, when guys carry that much muscle, things like that, they just don't have the best gas tank. So, I don't know if that's something that might have, played a factor in it. But you know what? Anthony Hernandez pulled off a really good guillotine win.
Yes. UFC 258 overall, I thought it was an okay card. Not the best UFC card that we've seen. Obviously, our attention now turns to Blachowicz against Adesanya. Which is going to be a great card. But this card, Usman Burns really carried it. I thought that was a great fight. Yeah. But the rest of the card was very lackluster. Would you say?
Yeah, I'd have to agree. When you have Maycee Barber versus Alexa Grasso as the co-main, really? That's just me. You know what I mean? And even Kelvin Gastelum versus Ian Heinisch, even if that was the co-main, just the way where they're at in their careers and things like that. But you know what? The UFC can't make great cards all the time either. True. Everything has to align. Right now with COVID, it seems impossible.
Yeah, it does. We'll be back with the boxing podcast. It should be the next one up. So if you guys could check that out. And then we'll turn our UFC attention to UFC 259. Blachowicz versus Adesanya happening next month, I believe, right?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys for watching another episode of the A Sports Podcast, and we'll talk to you guys next time.
Thanks a lot, guys.